Hi everyone, this is Shalise from Forward Chess, and today we have the exciting opportunity to sit down with Jennifer Shahade to talk about her new book, Play Like a Champion. Hi Jen, how are you?
Hi, I'm super good. Excited to be here and chat with you.
Yeah, well, Jen, you're such a chess icon, and I feel like this book is going to become a pretty iconic book. Where did the idea come from it? Where did it start?
Some years ago, 12 years ago, I wrote a book called Play Like a Girl. And this book was part of this nonprofit I founded that I was working with at the time called Nine Queens. And our idea was to present positions from top female players. And I did the book with Mongoose Press, and it was really fun. But it had gone out of print. And so we were talking about maybe updating it. And I realized that, women in chess have come so far in the past decade that I really needed to write a new book. The other thing that's come really far in the last decade is just the tactical literacy that the average player has. So I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of up the ante and make more difficult puzzles and showcase women from all over the world who play great chess. So this book has chess champions from every continent, well, except Antarctica, sorry. And also, a lot of people will notice the title, Play Like a Champion. It's really not about gender. I mean, yes, it's true that all the positions in the book are by female players, but that is almost the second point of the book. The book is really for everyone
Yeah.
to solve fresh positions and to get better at tactics.
Yeah. I love the name, by the way, play like a champion, because in chess, when you say play like a champion, I feel like you automatically assume male players, maybe, but to actually have that and only include female, tactics from female games, I thought it was just so beautiful with being so subtle at the same time. A really cool idea. And how long did it take you to assemble all these positions? I mean, these are many, many games, right? I was really intrigued about how you actually find the games and find the tactics in the games.
Well, I thought it was going to take less time, to be honest, but then just a series of things happened that made it keep taking longer. Like originally, I think I was going to make it 500 positions. It ended up 500 positions in like 15 or 18 chapters, and ended up being 700 positions in 23 chapters. So again, I credit this to the amazing games out there and all the great tactics that the players in the book have executed, because I just couldn't stop once I got started. And I got them from all sorts of sources. I mean, some of it honestly came from my work teaching girls and women in chess and teaching chess in various contexts to different schools, because I had already had a database of positions. My brother, who runs the US chess school, showed me some of the positions he accumulated. And there's also like a lot of great books out there about the great champions of the past that I also pulled from.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great sources that went into this book.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of hard work and a lot of time consuming work. And your puzzles, you said that you have a wide range. I mean, when I tried them out, the beginning, I'd be like, oh, this is so easy. I can use them for my little students. And then I go on, I'm like, ooh, this is not so easy anymore. So it really is the kind of book for all kinds of all levels, I think. Right? What is the highest rating, like lowest to highest you would set it at?
Well, I really think that, first of all, if you train anyone, if you teach anyone, this book is for you. Even if if obviously if you teach full time, you have to have this book. But even if you just
Yeah.
teach like your nephew or niece or something, like, yeah, you want this book. But beyond the trainers, I would say anything from a completely new player to pretty strong, to be honest. Like my brother, who's 2,500, he was like looking at a couple positions and being like, hmm.
Oh.
And my inspiration for that was partly Puzzle Rush on chess.com, because I
Love Puzzle
noticed
Rush.
I was observing a lot of grandmasters doing Puzzle Rush either on their stream or some in person when I was in St. Louis. It actually debuted. I think I was doing commentary in a tournament in St. Louis when Puzzle Rush dropped. And I remember Peter Svidler doing Puzzle Rush. And I would like watch and I'd be like, you know, even like somebody like Svidler or, Maurice Ashley, like these grandmasters, Yasser Sarwan, they're not bored by doing mates in one. Like they're in
Hmm.
it. And I think that it kind of clued me into the fact that it's fine to include some mates in one, some mates into some easier positions. Even if you want this book to have like a wide range of levels, you want it to speak to a wide range of levels, because that's the beauty of chess, that
Yeah.
even really strong players still get that shiver of joy from seeing an elementary combination. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
And then when you add to it that you can see like where and when it was played and who played the game, it adds this
Hmm.
kind of nice historical context. Like there is some method behind, in particular, the Made in One chapter.
Yeah.
It's a pretty short chapter because I realize that most of the people reading this book will be maybe like 800 plus, so they might already know most mates in
Yeah.
one.
It's like a warm up.
Yeah, warm up, but it's also a way to kind of see some cool positions. Like, well, the very first position in the book, I had to use my own my
Of
own
course.
sad maiden
Hmm.
one. In this position, I get mated one by the great grandmaster Nana Zagnidzi, and yeah, this was a sad game for me, of
Oh,
course.
wait, I didn't realize that you were the one being mated. Why did I just assume that you were doing I love that you still included that because it is pretty. Um and you're playing
Yeah.
against the chess giant.
Oh yeah, she's great. She's great. Yeah, because I do think the first move you look at is queen before check. So it's like you have to like at least for me, like my brain looks at queen before check first. So it
Yeah.
is it's important to see this pattern. But then you see Maya Chibernidze versus Nigel Short in the second one, and Judith. So I did Baraka Shabazz, who's a player that many people have forgotten, but very important to the history of U.S. chess greatness. And I picked some players that I really felt in this chapter that I felt like kind of showed some of the points of the book, which is a showcase the history of tactics and some of the great players who've contributed, both historical and current. And then you see
Yeah.
somebody like Alessia. My book, one thing you'll notice, it does have a lot of streamers. So there are a lot of streamers
Yeah.
featured in the book.
Notice that. But it's cool because you're keeping, I love how you have Alicia and then you have Vera in the next puzzle, like such a big gap in time. But it's cool because you're keeping up to date with the times, with, the popular streamers and then the classic players that we all look up to. It's a nice
Yeah.
combination.
And that's the cool thing about chess tactics. I know that, the stronger you are, the more likely you are to have a really beautiful tactic, because the most gorgeous tactics do kind of, I think, come from strategic positions that you build up. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that every person who reads this chess book, that studies their tactics, will find tactics like this in your own games. They'll be
Yeah.
there. Now, whether you'll be able to find it at the board when the intensity is on, I mean, that's harder. But
That's a different story. But I think it was Fisher who said tactics flow from superior positions. So just like you say, you build it up and then the beauty will come. But it's nice to be able to solve them and actually appreciate in a book like this, even if they don't come up in your own game.
oh yeah, and they will. Some of them will. You for sure. I mean, that's what the cool thing about chess, right? Like, yeah, I mean, this is democratic. Everybody gets to find chess tactics in their own games.
Yeah.
And then I have Maiden 2, which is obviously a huge jump for Maiden 1 in difficulty level. And
Hmm.
I'm sure you've noticed that Mates in 2 are all the rage on social media. Like everywhere you look, there's like a beautiful Maiden 2, and people really love this exercise.
Yeah, because it's a little step more complicated than the Mason one. You actually have to make the magic happen. It's not just there to like so clearly on the board. So you have quite a lot more mate in twos and mate in ones, right?
Oh yeah, Mates in 2 could have been a really long chapter because there's so many beautiful ones, and some of them get sprinkled into other chapters. Because obviously, like if you look at the table of contents, you see that there's all these different themes, but some of them kind of merge together. Like the Queen Sacrifice, some of those are Mates in 3 or Mates in 4.
Yeah,
So a lot of times, and that's the nature of the beast, because tactic, a synonym for tactic is combination. Combination means combining different tactical themes, right?
Hmm.
And so many of these kind of like dovetail. in particular, the double attack is something that comes up constantly.
Yeah.
Double attack comes up with a back rank made, with the traps, with the pawn promotion, double attack is everywhere. You can't get
Yeah.
away from this tactic. It's like the quintessential tactic.
Yeah. And your double attack chapter is not the easiest, I must say. Like, they're not the obvious double attack kind of positions. Not like you'll move the knight and fork all the pieces. It's a lot trickier in a good way. It was very interesting to see. And you have
Yeah,
the crumbling duo. It was nice that you included that mom and daughter chess icons.
yeah. I mean, absolutely love Pia and Anna. I mean, I just think that Pia Cramling is one of the great legends of the game. She's such a nice person, and she's so good at chess. And I think that she's just really an icon to me. And then, of course, her daughter has done so much for popularizing the game, and seems to be like improving as she, becomes a chess professional herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a game that Pia played against Anatoly Karpov, and it's great to see her outwit the great Karpov here.
Yeah. You
So
want to show us?
sure, sure. She played this move, knight takes e4. And the point was that if knight takes e4, she gets to play queen takes rook, and she'll be up a nice bit of material here. So
Yeah.
this didn't happen in the game. She'll end up being up, what is it? An exchange and a pawn, I believe, if he went for this line. So instead, Karpov didn't take the knight, but she had a really nice position. He did end up
Mm.
getting a draw, but that's beside the point of the combination, which is quite lovely.
Yeah. To get something like this in your game and then to get it against Karpov, I mean, that's just, I'll tell everyone in my life about that if this happens to me. This is a cool tactic that you added in.
Yes, and so this one also, you see some basic double attacks early in the chapter, but then they get pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I really like when double attacks kind of cascade, when you have like a double attack that turns into another double attack. And there are some favorites that I have in this chapter. I mean, I like the one by Pia. I mean, one thing I should say is that there are a lot of words in this book, so it's not only puzzles. So the
Hmm.
opening of each of the 23 chapters includes some examples for people to walk through.
Yeah.
And yeah, like this one, it's not really a solving position. It's like you get walked through it, but
Yeah.
that's okay because there's plenty of positions to solve.
Yeah. No, it's a nice little introduction, like a starter to what's to come. And also a nice history lesson because you tell us about all the great players, the great female players that there are. It's such a nice
Yeah.
combination of tactics and biography slash history slash just chess, learning everything about chess. Are you finding your favorites?
Well, yeah, and I have a lot of favorites, but I think the last one in this chapter is a real favorite because it's by the great Ho Yifan. And I mean, one thing you see in this book is that it is true that when it comes to the most difficult tactics and the most kind of like surprising tactics that are even harder to find, you do see names like Ho Yifan and Judith Polgar come up again and again because the greatest female players of history, they
Hmm.
have a lot of these tactics in their games.
Yeah, it happens in their games. So this is for Hoi Fan is playing as black hair.
Yes, exactly. So this one was black to move, and I why did I love this one so much? Because there's a couple different things happening, right? So obviously, if you want to try to solve it yourself, you can pause.
Yeah.
But in the game, she plays bishop takes g2, and after king g2, queen takes d4. If pawn takes d4, there's this fork on f4, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a moment where queen takes g6, queen d5 check, e4. So this would be a better try for white, right?
Yeah.
Because now you try to give up the queen so that if I take, you take back and you're up a piece, right? But Ho
Yeah.
Yifan saw all of this. So after pawn takes, now the key point here was that if queen takes e4, there's
The
queen
wreck is
d5,
hanging.
and there's another double attack, right? So I think that it's really kind of nice to
Wow.
see the double attacks kind of recur again and again, right?
Yeah. And how many moves was that? Like she would have had to see all of that up until Queen G5.
Yeah, all the way back here, right? Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know that on forward chess, one cool thing is that you can start the engine, so that's always kind of nice too. If you you know, at some point you want to kind of like see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if you have like a
And
specific question.
with your book, because it's a puzzle book, we have the puzzle feature, which is also really nice. So you can get a rating, you can solve the puzzles without seeing the solutions. Um, you go through all of the positions, like it comes up automatically. So that's also quite a nice way. Like your book is perfect for the platform, actually. But yeah, the engine gives you everything you need to know as well.
Yeah, it is nice because like sometimes you might have a question like, okay, so what happens after Queen G5 check? Because the line isn't quite finished, right? You do have to ask yourself, because I'm sure obviously Ho
Hmm.
Yifan had to analyze this too, right? Like what
Yeah.
happens if Queen G6 check, and then, you know, what exactly is going on here, right? There is Rook F7, and the thing is, Black is up so much material here, right? Like not
Hmm.
only are we're up in exchange, but we're also attacking the bishop on d3. And I guess we're not up a pawn anymore, but we're attacking this queen, and you can't go to g5 because of this queen. So big troubles here for black. I mean for white. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's nice to have that because you know sometimes you still have lingering questions when you look at a tactic in a book, right?
Yeah. Especially if it's not a checkmate. Like checkmate done, no more questions. You can't really like it's over. But if you're winning material, it's also quite cool to keep playing on.
And in the hard copy for those people who get the hard copy, like you know, at some point you have to end the line, right? And so there's always going to be variations that people might have questions about, right? And that's where a coach comes in. But I do think it's a nice feature of having it
Yeah.
being solvable. Now the bad thing though is if you press show solution too quickly, then you lose out
Yeah,
on the
that's
training.
cheating. Yeah, don't, yeah. Like the button is there, but I guess the cool thing is it's not, the choice is there to see or not, like from a coach's perspective. But yeah, definitely try to solve before seeing the solution.
Yeah. So if we go back to the initial position, it's really just a lot to see and calculate. And you see, there's this kind of combination between calculation and pattern recognition, right? So you have to see the knight F4 idea, which is like a really nice pattern, but then you also actually have to calculate the whole line, right? So,
Yeah.
and see your opponent's resources. So a really nice one of my faves. Did you have
Yeah,
any
deep.
favorites that you saw in your perusal of the book so far?
Well, I've used a lot of them in my own coaching as well. Like if you open the table of contents, I think I looked at Vera Menchik, her queen sacrifice position. I named my cat
Oh,
Vera
the
after Vera, so she's like my
oh,
favorite.
where's
So
your
when you
cat?
added her, I was like, yes, always a great one to include. So yeah, the first position of Vera that you added, I loved. Queen sacrifice and then the mates on the H file with the rook.
Oh, right. This is a variation, right? But the main line, which happened in the game, was this threatening the checkmate on G7, and then after a spite check. Now, yeah, this is quite
Yeah,
nice, huh? Yeah, it's a
very
really nice one.
nice.
Yeah, corridor checkmates. It's cool because if this pawn's not here, the game's completely winning for black, right?
Yeah, it's one of
That's
those
nice to
things
think
like I
about.
wish I had less material as black, like one less pawn, you're fine. But it's just such a nice position. It's one of those mating race ones. So it looks like that's what happened in the game because black has everything going on in the queen side, and then white just opened up on the king side. It
And if
was
you
a
think
very
about the
cool.
thing, we're so used to seeing the back rank mate, right? But this is like on the corridor. It's like a back rank. It's like
True.
a back. Yeah, it's a back column mate, right?
Yeah.
And
Just turn
it's
the
if you
board and it's kind of the same concept as a back rank mate.
exactly. Yeah, if you look at it, if you look at it that way, if you flip the board in your head like 90
Yeah.
degrees, it kind of looks more normal.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's back ranked, then this should technically be like side file if you do if you call it the same as back rank, like a side file mate.
Yeah, or like I think people sometimes call it like a corridor mate, right? To me, it is kind of cool that it has that more, it has that 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 corollary of the back rank. And but you know, she has an even more famous back rank mate. I love this one, but I'd say not a back rank mate, an even more famous queen sacrifice, which I love to show to classes.
Yeah.
It's pretty famous. Baramenchik has this great move. I mean, I consider this one of the greatest moves of all time. Like this is just amazing. And she's playing against her contemporary. What I like
Uh,
about this one is you got to ask people white to move and win. And it's in the queen sacrifice chapter, right?
yeah.
So a lot of people are going to come up with the move queen takes pawn,
Yeah. The
right?
first, you're
Yeah.
told to sacrifice your queen, you're told to look for something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
looks
mean, in
pretty
a check,
simple, but
beautiful, beautiful.
hmm.
But this is the thing. You got to look for your opponent's resources, right? You have to
Yes.
look at because actually, I think like White's got a better end game here. But after this queen takes this brilliant rejoinder, queen takes h2. You know, White has a lot of work to do. She's up a pawn, right? But
Yeah.
okay, the game's not over.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
game's
Lots still
not over.
happening here.
So she saw all that and prefaced it with the unbelievable move. If you haven't seen this before, try to solve it or pause it.
Yeah. Pause.
Bang! Rook to d7. Now queen d7.
Fireworks.
Yes, now it works.
Yeah.
If I can get it there. And bishop takes knight doesn't help because there's still a mate right here. And yeah, it's a really nice one. Very nice
Yeah.
tactic. From 1937, from the Women's World Championship between her main rival, Sylvia Graf. Awesome.
Yeah.
And
So,
this again is an example of how it's hard to pick a theme chapter, but in a way, I think that's good because it makes them not too easy.
hmm.
But this position could easily be in so many different chapters. It could have been it's in the Queen Sacrifice, but it could also be in the Distraction, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, checkmate, probably not. There's a few moves, checkmates. But yeah, distraction, okay, queen sacrifice, but I think that's the main thing here, which ironically distracts you from finding or kind of tries to distract you from finding the right solution. Because the first thing you think is queen sacrifice in every position. How can I sacrifice my queen? But first comes the rook sacrifice.
Oh, it also has double attack. That's what I meant. Double because if you think about it, if it wasn't for the fact that you're attacking both of these bishops, queen takes h2 would be good again, right?
Yeah, yeah, saving grace, but too much
Yeah.
material is being lost.
Well, the point being that this rook at the end of the day is attacking both, so you don't have time to play like, bishop takes g5 or anything like that, and you're just down a
Yeah,
piece. Whereas in the other line, you had what? You had a pawn only, right? So here you have a piece, yeah, for the
yeah.
pawn.
Those
So
positions are actually so deep, right? Like it's not just, find a solution. The way we're doing right now, I think it's for coaches to be working through the book with students. This is a really great way of doing it, finding alternatives, what else could have happened, and comparing the positions. Really great coaching material.
now, unfortunately, there was this gorgeous queen sacrifice like a couple weeks ago that it came out after the book was published. Although it was so advanced, I'm not even sure I could have included it in the book. It was by the great Greek player, and used. I think Agamotto did a video on it, as did Levy, I believe. So it's all over. It's like the queen sacrifice of the year. But I have to say, I was reminded a little bit of the last position in this book, which I really like. The last position in this chapter.
Yeah. For
When
that
I saw that
queen sacrifice, we can try to maybe insert it here, try to find it. It didn't make the book, but maybe you can make this video.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can pull it up maybe and send me a link or something, I can add it in.
Yeah.
But it reminded me a little bit of the last one here, where White played this awesome move, bishop takes f6, which will seem just obvious, you just win a bishop, but hey, there's bishop h6, right? So a lot of people would give up there because that looks kind
Yeah,
of
losing your
annoying, right?
queen.
But as it turns out, I mean, White is just totally winning here, and there's a lot of wins, but the most convincing one is just to simply play king b1 because after bishop g5, pawn g5, it's unstoppable. Rook h1 and rook h8. It doesn't matter that you have a whole move to stop it. There's nothing there. There's
Yeah,
no
no
way.
way to stop it. Wow. King B1 is so subtle. You're looking for the fireworks, and meantime, it's stepping out of the way of danger for the fireworks to happen.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, I think in the game she chose a different move, but it was totally winning also. That's how good the position is, that there's actually
Yeah.
like a lot of good moves here. Even though you're down, you just lost your queen, and almost every move wins for white. It's crazy. But King B1 is the most pretty one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and
Wow.
because they tell you when you start playing sharper openings, a lot of kids, when they start getting like 1200 plus, that when you castle queenside, your castling is not complete until you move your king to b1. So
Hmm.
I feel like this is a good example to show in that last hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Another good coaching moment.
Okay, so this position is really the queen's hack of the year. I think Stravola Sakaladou played this opening. I mean, it was the opening was a Sicilian, and here she played just a really amazing move. She played Queen G3, and I mean, it's stunning because it allows knight e2 check, winning the queen. But the idea, similar to that game that I just showed you, is that after knight e7 check and king h7, it's really hard to stop rook to h1, which has a devastating consequence. It's
Wow.
pretty complicated. I feel like a lot of people have gone over it in depth, and it might take up the rest of our time to go over all the analysis. But just the idea of coming up with the idea of playing queen g3 in itself is marvelous, because I think most people would just stop analyzing there. And that's what I think
Yeah.
it had in common with that game that I showed, where a lot of people would say like, oh, bishop f6, bishop h6, and they might stop analyzing, right?
Hmm.
And that drive to go a little further.
Yeah. And this game you just showed, like usually it would be, I think, opposite, like for black, find the fork, with the knight.
Yes,
But this
true.
is so complicated. I love it. This should be in the second edition of your book, I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Play like a
yeah.
champion
I
part
think,
two.
yeah, yeah. We need to sell out of it, so because there's another one by Salimova. Yeah, there's just so many great puzzles. And one of the reasons I made it 700 puzzles actually was because it was an homage to a great author. Yosha is great as well. She's a chess composer, and um, she's doing really well playing now for the for women's team in France. She has won. I think I wrote here that she's the Blitz and Rapid vice champion, so she's gotten the silver medal in both of those events in 2023.
Wow.
But the point I was making was that one of my inspirations for this chapter was not only Yosha, but also the great Edith Baird, who was a prolific composer in the 19th century and early 20th century. She composed hundreds of problems, and she ended up writing 700 puzzles in, well, 700 chess problems, which were all of her mates in twos and
Oh,
mates in
wow.
threes that were published in magazines all over the world. So I decided I wanted to make my book 700 puzzles.
Yeah, how wonderful, like paying homage to her. And I mean, I've been playing chess for so long and I have never heard of her name before, but you're calling her the mother of chess problems. How nice, how wonderful to learn about who this is.
Yeah, and you know, you
Wow.
might recognize, some people might recognize her name from Laszlo Polgar's book, 5,334 Puzzles. There's a
Yeah.
number of hers there. The thing I like about her style is she's got a lot of simple ones. So, you know, when you think about chess problem, a lot of times you think about really hard problems that like it's more for
Yeah.
like 1800 plus, but she has some nice ones that were on the simpler side, like this one, maiden white to maiden two. And you know, if you start solving these more regularly, the key probably comes to you pretty quickly. That white here can play king to f6, and it's force mate because rook takes, knight takes g6 is mate.
Yeah. How
So yeah,
pretty.
she had a number of those. I can include some of them, but yeah, obviously there's many more that you can find on the chess problem databases online.
But you picked the really interesting ones. I'm excited. I haven't
Yeah.
gone through this chapter yet. So I'm really keen to get there now. Do a little bit more
Oh yeah.
research on Edith.
It's hard. It's probably the hardest. I mean, some of them I made an effort to make some of the positions in this chapter easier because I
Yeah.
think I want the book to really be accessible, and I want people who maybe don't know about chess problems because I think when we teach kids a lot of the time, we're very, how do I say, focused on goals. Like, and a lot of times it's like, how do we get this child to a higher rating? And problems, they can accentuate that, but not always, especially ones that look weird, like this, or it's a beautiful one, or
Yeah.
this. If you were like, oh, that's not going to help people get better at chess. And
Hmm.
while I agree with that, what you might find is that there are some people who are inspired by things like that. Like they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is cool. This is another part of chess. And
Yeah.
I think one way for people to get over plateaus is to have things that they like about chess that
Hmm.
go beyond
True.
what your latest result was.
Yeah, because chess should be fun. That's what keeps you playing and makes it worth it, right? Making, and that's one your thing to make chess fun and accessible. And this is such a cool way of doing it. Wow.
I
But
have
I
to admit,
don't
I don't
agree
remember.
with you that problems don't help you improve. Like, don't you think that it helps you just in terms of focus and actually spending time to
Yeah.
calculate and visualize as well? Because you should obviously be trying to do everything in your head. So in smaller aspects of chess, maybe it can help you improve, to work through such
Oh,
problems.
definitely. Definitely. I think that ones like this though sometimes get a bad rap. Like I think the one chess studies and like in whatnot and chess problems that look like more realistic, like this one or something by Yosha. I think they get an okay reputation. People realize like it's important for training. But the ones
Yeah.
that kind of like look weird, I think that sometimes people say aren't useful. And this one doesn't look that weird, honestly. But white's up a queen and a rook, right? So there's a lot of ways to win. So some people are like, "Oh, does it really matter that you see the maiden
Yeah.
too?" And I think it's a good question, and it might not matter for some people. For some people, they might not like that, and they might want to do something else. But for some people, that could be like what you said, a kind of way to be disciplined about thinking and practice on your focus.
Yeah, and see some creativity in chess. Because at the end of the day, this was like created, right? This was written, or what is the word I'm looking for? That you actually made this out of nowhere. You created this problem. Like that's so cool, and that's such a cool skill to have and to be able to
Problems. And this
do.
one's by Odette Vollenweider, who's a really amazing composer. I felt like a lot of her positions were a little bit outside the scope of the book because they were so hard, but I did include a couple.
Yeah.
And because, but one thing I found really interesting about her was that she, and I write this in the text, is that she often used a male pseudonym, Gabriel Baumgartner, in publishing her problems, which
Wow.
yeah, when I read that, I was actually like a little sad about it because I was like, oh,
Hmm.
women are so underrepresented in chess. And then she also used a male pseudonym because she felt like maybe she wouldn't get taken as seriously or it'd be harder to publish her problems. And that was kind of
Yeah.
sad for me.
It is, but now you're giving her a platform. We're giving her positions a platform, so it's a nice turn of events. But it is a little sad that I guess, for the problem to be respected or to be solved, she had to use a pseudonym.
Yeah, or maybe, I mean, I think maybe she wanted, I did read one quote by her about it, and I think she wanted maybe the problems to get the stage. And I understand that. And I know there are people who, when they have an androgynous name or a name that could be either boys or girls, sometimes they like that because then when they publish their work, it's like, it's not as much about them, it's about the work. And in
Hmm.
fact, I think in the United States, at least, your name is Charlie, maybe not Charlie's, but Charlie itself it's like 50-50 now between
Yeah.
boy's name and girl's name.
Yeah. Yeah. And Charlie is, yeah, a lot easier. I let my little students say it because they can't say Charlize. It's too complicated. But Charlie is an easy way, an easy
What
name to say.
what Charlie's is really beautiful. I actually like the Z at the end. It's gorgeous. It reminded me that Charlie now in America, when I was a kid, Charlie was always a boy's name, and now it's like 50-50. Like it's very
Hmm.
popular, and Bobby has kids in his class that are Charlie, that are girls, and that are boys over the last few years. It's
Yeah,
like
it's cool.
yeah, it's kind of like Alex or something. Alex is
Mm,
girls or a boy's name, same way. Yeah.
yeah. How many
And
positions are in this last one? Oh, Sophia Polgar, you have a position by her?
Oh yeah, Sophia. I have a, Sophia is awesome. I love Sophia Polgar. She is the least known of the Polgar sisters, but she's really cool. She's got one of the greatest performances in history in her tournament in Rome, and she also composed this position when she was 7 years old, which is crazy, right? And this
Once
is
you
white to
said
move
it,
and mate.
it makes sense. Like all these pawns, like it kind of looks like a, but the fact that she had a solution and she was 7 years old, that's wild.
White to Move and Maiden too. And yeah, she's also an artist. So this, I guess, kind of it looks like a drawing on a chessboard, which is
It
something that a number of
does.
composers have done. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow, so creative. Like shows you how you can be creative in chess.
I didn't want to give too
Wow.
many of the answers to this one because problems, especially like once you find out the answer, sometimes you're kind of bummed because you're like, I wanted the chance to solve that one by myself,
Yeah.
like that. I think with puzzles, it's kind of okay because you can always like use the woodpecker method or go back and study it again. But with a problem, it is a bit like spoiling the end of a movie
Yeah.
for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll pause this. We won't talk about the solution. And then the viewers can go see the solution in the book.
Although I have to say, I'm one of those people with spoilers. Like, I don't like spoilers and chess problems. But when it comes
Yeah.
to movies and TV, I'm like a little bit crazy. I never give it away, but I sometimes look up the ending before I watch it,
Oh no.
I know it's weird. I
Yeah.
think it's because I think it's because if it's emotional or sad or something, I want to know how much I have to prepare myself for.
Yeah.
I'm
You
like,
sort of be mentally and emotionally ready for what's to come.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I think there's actually a Twitter account about that called like Does the dog die in the end? Because people don't like it when animals die in
Oh
movies or
no.
TV. So
No
they need to
ways.
know
Have you
whether or
seen
not to
Marley? Have you seen Marley and Me? The movie
I
Marley
haven't
and
seen
Me.
that. Should I?
Ugh, don't watch it. No. I think one Google
Okay.
search, you'll know that you shouldn't watch it. It's too sad.
Okay. I think I know what the ending would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fiction, right? So
I
it's
think,
fiction.
but that doesn't make it better somehow. Like that's still, yeah.
Still hot right now. But
Yeah.
anyway, no spoilers here. But you
No
can
spoilers.
spoil for me, you can spoil TV shows and movies, but that doesn't help because you can't spoil it to anyone else. So,
Right. Maybe I should put the solution to this in like add it to the blog post so that people actually have to make an
yeah.
effort to go see the solution and then spend time on trying to solve it first.
Yeah. Well, when you get it, you get it. That's the thing about Machen too. For the most part, I mean, once in a while, no, but for the most part, when you get it, you get it. You might miss a line or something, but
Yeah.
I love that. That's the cool thing about problems, how they make your brain feel. It's like a light bulb moment. Some of
Yeah.
the puzzles in the book are in situations where one side is like winning, and occasionally the move that is correct is easily winning or checkmates, but there are other ways to like have a good position, right? And that's why in problems, usually there's a very specific stipulation, right? There's supposed to be one answer, white to move and mate into. There's not multiple answers
Yeah.
like there often is in life. Yeah.
Yeah. And in your games, like you're not you wish someone would tell you, look at this position as a mate in two. Okay, well, mate in two is a bit elementary, but someone told you there's a really cool double attack here. You just got to find it 5 moves later. That would help a little bit. But it's good to train that outside of your games.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's fine that in real games, a lot of the times there's multiple solutions. I mean, that's the thing when I was selecting positions for this, I had to get rid of something I really loved because there are too many multiple solutions, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes you have like a really nice tactical finish, but you can't use it because there were like two or three other ways to win
Yeah.
or easily win. If the finish that is chosen is by far the cleanest, you can still use it, right?
Hmm.
But if there's like two equally winning lines, usually it goes in the trash, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the cool thing with chess players. Like people think differently. So you might have people, even grandmasters, I guess, looking at the same position and finding completely different ways to actually win. And if you included those positions, maybe that should be like a whole different book. Find three different ways to win in this position and then select the best one.
Find three different ways to win. I like that. And what is your favorite tactical device?
My favorite tactics, I love sacrifice. Okay, queen sacrifices, obviously. I feel like I made that obvious with the Vera chapter. I just love giving away pieces and reaping the rewards, you know. So I'll send you
Yeah.
one of my positions. Maybe you can add to the next edition of your book. That's
Yes.
got a
I
cool
would
little 18 move game.
I would love that. Yes, I do. I think, and even much, I mentioned that there was like this homage to Edith, but Edith Baird, who made the book 700 Problems. That said, I am not afraid at the next edition to expand it a little bit, make it 800, 900, something like that, because
Yeah.
yes, just so many beautiful positions being created. And I think it's always nice when you add some, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to work through the whole book as well because it's so satisfying as well, like with the puzzle features to get it right. And I mean, solving puzzles in general is great, but I love the way you've structured it in your book. It's so easy, like easy to work through, not easy puzzles. The puzzles are by no means all easy. Some of them are very, very hard, but in a good way.
So I haven't used the puzzle mode for this book yet. So I start within a 1,000 rating.
Yeah.
And then when I find the solution, I don't want to show the solution. This one's a problem. Let me do a really easy one, like a maiden one,
Yeah, go
so
to
that we
made
can
in
demonstrate
one.
it. Yeah.
And then, so if you open one of the positions, yeah, then you
Okay.
can enable the tactics feature with that little up the arrow that's going, yeah, starting puzzle mode.
This one, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
this one.
yeah. So you're 1,000, and then you can work your
Oh,
way
and
up.
then they push me to the start of the chapter, but that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
And
the
then,
cool thing
look
about
at
this
that.
that I
That's
found,
500 points.
jeez.
Nice.
It's nice to work through, give your examples and then have them kind of tested because, like woodpecker method, you kind of just reinforcing the idea and the puzzle in your head. And then at the end, like if you finish all the puzzles in the chapter, it will ask you to do the ones that you were like not great at again.
Right. The one thing you missed. Oh, that's really nice. Like the woodpecker
Yeah.
method. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. So we can look at it for something a little bit more challenging, like the Maiden 2 chapter. And now because these are from real games, a lot of these are not like super hard, right? Like
Yeah.
they're not composed positions. So some of them are straightforward and some of them aren't. So it kind of keeps you guessing. But
Yeah.
if I click on this and I do that, yes. So it says puzzle completed, good job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, from 1,000 to 1,600, that's quite a nice little jump there.
Yeah, this one's a bit hard, I'd say. Tiny bit hard. Because I think most chess players look at bishop. I don't know. I don't know what you look at first.
I
Queen
think,
b4,
yeah,
maybe?
or understanding that the king is gonna come out. And well, when I try to work through checkmates, you first look at the king's escape squares. I think that brings the possibilities down to understand what actually needs to happen.
Yeah. So this could also be a clearance tactic in that we're clearing the path for a queen. And in a
Hmm.
way, I guess it's clearance, and we're also clearing this. It's kind of a double clearance. Yeah, clearing for the rook, and we're also clearing for the queen, which now gets to checkmate because of this. So, yeah, I think this one's a bit difficult. I can definitely imagine seeing this in like a blitz game for sure, a rapid
Oh,
game,
yeah,
and like
definitely.
looking at like queen b4 or something like that. Whereas like this
Yeah.
one, I think most people would get. A lot of times it's about, oh, I can't. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in puzzles mode. So you just go out and then you can look at the positions again.
Right. Oh, you're gonna like this one. That's a hint.
Oh, queen sacrifice. Most
Yes,
probably there.
this could be in the
Yeah.
queen sacrifice chapter because it's so
Yeah,
pretty. Yeah, you gotta
it's
love
very
this. Very,
pretty.
very nice. It's not a
Yeah.
very common pattern. It's not a pattern I've seen very many times, because
Yeah.
normally for the minors to checkmate the king needs to be like more in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're surrounded by pieces. But I must say with a lot of your puzzles, like the patterns aren't always so obvious. It's the positions are so creative, and I like that about it. It's not like a kind of robot mode, you know, this and that. I've seen this a million times before. You got to think about it for even a mating too. So it's even for, I guess, the higher rated players, it's nice to see that change from your regular puzzles that you do online every day.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you say that. And I think, part of it is just like because there are so many great puzzles online, and I know that people can practice volume online. I did think that like some of my criteria was aesthetic. I mean,
Hmm.
this position's beautiful, so I just included it. And I think that that's reasonable, right? I mean, part of it was players. I wanted to get a different example from every world champion and from every woman in the top 20 players in the world. And then, I used streamers. I wanted to get a game from the top streamers so that their fans can see them in the book. And I kind of like chose criteria like that. And it wasn't very difficult to get cool examples from almost everybody.
Yeah.
But then at some point, it was also just like, is this position cool? Like that was just a reason to include it or not.
I mean, this is why the book stands out to me. It's you've got aesthetic, cool positions, and they were just clearly so well chosen, like intently, you know. And I think that makes this book really stand out against other puzzle books.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad you say that because I know obviously you go through a lot of books and I understand you really do like puzzle books. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and puzzles like online. I just because there's that instant gratification of doing a puzzle, getting the solution. Like I love that, you know. I can sit for hours and hours and just do puzzles. But this is nice because it's different. Like on chess.com, I think I do Puzzle Rush every single day, but at some point you get the same positions kind of coming up, and so your brain just automatically, and it's fun. It's really fun. But in terms of improving or just really appreciating the beauty of chess, I've really admired your book for doing that.
Well, thank you. And for people who are watching, is there another book that you could compare my book to in case like they like that, like, the recommendations on the Amazon or Netflix? If you like
Yeah.
this, you might like that.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know what your recommendations for cool aesthetic puzzle books are.
Well, do you have one? I mean, is there anything that comes to your mind like that? Because you like this book, but is there what are your other go-to puzzle books?
Yes, it's a really, really famous puzzle book, Improve Your Chess Tactics by Yakov Neish.
Ah,
My pronunciation,
Yakov, not
Neistat.
Norwitz. Neistat. Yeah,
Neistat.
Norwitz is a
Yeah, yeah.
Yakov. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
apparently
No,
this is like a super old book
no, I know that book.
that like everyone's worked through. And then I found it on Forward Chess, and I was just like, before my last tournaments I played, I just worked through the whole book because I couldn't put it down. That's also, I guess that was my favorite puzzle book before yours came along.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet because you know what? I do have a relationship with that book. And the one by Yakov Nechat. And the part that's really funny about it is that there is a position in this book that I first saw there and it was fabulous. And my dad told me about it. So he called me and he knows that I'm working on this book. And he's like, there's this game by Nona Gaprindashvili and it's like so cool. No, it's not this one. I can't remember where it is right now, but it's a Nona Gaprindashvili game with the black
Yeah.
pieces. And I think it's in the distraction chapter actually. And my dad told me about it and I looked up the game and it was such a cool line, such cool variations. And then I called my dad and I was like, well, what's the book? Because I want to source it if I
Hmm.
include it, And he said, well, the book has a purple cover, but I don't remember anything else.
Okay, well, you got all this information of the puzzle and then just purple color.
So I was like, what? It's purple? I was like, do you have it? And he's like, no, I lent it to someone. I was like, okay, how am I
That
gonna source
really
this?
doesn't narrow it down at all.
But then I went on social media and somehow the hive mind found it for me and it was Yako's book. And
Okay.
yes. And by the way, that book also has 700 puzzles. So I have a couple of links with it.
Yeah, it's all like kind of like you say, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, 700 practical lessons and exercises is in the title. So that's like the
Yeah,
sweet spot for puzzles in a tactics in a puzzle book, I suppose.
I think so. I think 700 is a good number because, and by the way, another book which I think, I don't know if it's on Forward Chess, but everyone's first chess workbook is also
Yes,
got
we
about
do have
seven.
that. Hmm.
Yeah, it's also got about 750. Because
Yeah.
it seems like the thing is, if you're going to actually explain things, if you go well beyond 700, the book's going to just be super thick. So
Mm.
700 is a good number that you can really explain the answers and the solutions where needed. And in my book, there's also the biographical snippets and the walkthroughs of the positions where they're not exactly a puzzle, but I'm explaining to you how this tactical theme is coming across. Like if
Yeah.
you go way over 700, it's going to be really like a massive book. But this is
Yeah.
the position, by the way, and I'm not going to go over it here because it's pretty complicated analysis. But as you can see, it's the last position in the distraction chapter, so it's pretty tricky. But this is the
Oh,
one that I first saw the game in Yako's book. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. I'll also add that in the blog, the solution to the position. That's cool though. What a nice way of like kind of tying that together. Like who knew? Small world.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is. I think it's in the solution if you click on it. But I don't want to do that because then I will show everyone the answer. So
Yeah, no. Oh, you referenced the book in the
yeah, yeah.
solution.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, awesome. I'll have that. I'll put the entire solution in. Yeah, of course, the last position of all your chapters, I feel like are the final boss positions. So they're a little trickier than the others. So it's a better to spend some time on the position than just try to solve it right now.
Exactly, exactly. It's really cool. There's some really cool variations in this one. You're gonna love it. Fantastic. Black to move. Awesome
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
All the themes, blocking, mate threat. I'm sorry, back rank, blocking, and distraction. It's got like three. Yeah.
yeah. You need a chapter called All the Themes and just these random positions that have everything.
Everything. Yeah, that's a good
Hmm.
point. Like everything. Get everything into
Yeah.
one position. Like the everything
The
bagel.
everything chapter.
Have you ever had an everything bagel?
No, I don't like bagels. I don't understand why you need a hole. Like, why not just, yeah, I'm not a bagel person, but everything bagel's got all the ingredients, right?
Yeah,
Are
well,
you judging me for not liking bagels?
no, God, no, no, no. I'm just thinking about your question about why you need a hole. But what about donuts? Do you not like donuts either?
I mean, donuts don't have filling. Like the whole thing of having a hole, it gets so messy because things come out and that. Like donut is just the donut, so it's clean and easy to eat. This hole and then the stuff starts coming
I
out.
see.
I
I see.
just
Okay. So a donut can have a hole, but a bagel, it's like just bread. But I think they have more egg than bread. I think that's like the thing. That a good bagel, like a New York bagel, has like more egg inside the bread, so it tastes like more health, not healthy. It tastes more like substantial.
okay.
That still doesn't answer your question about the whole.
Yeah. But
I'm
okay,
sure.
maybe if I'm in New York one day, I'll try a New York everything bagel.
Yes, and of course, Philadelphia. We have good food here, really good food.
Yeah, I've heard that. Philly steaks, right? That's
That's
what I've
right.
heard.
Well,
Mm.
we go beyond that though. We got it's not just the unhealthy food. We got everything here. We got it all. But yeah, this has been really fun, and it's just so amazing to hear that you love the book because I love chess puzzles and problems, and so to get that kind of feedback means a lot to me,
Yeah,
and I had fun talking to you about it.
I had so much fun talking to you. Thank you. And I mean, the book is obviously a must-have uh for every chess player, every chess coach. It's just I'm so glad I have it, and I'm going to tell everyone I know to get it because yeah. Let's see how it goes. I have such high expectations for the future of this book and part two, which will have even more puzzles.
Yes, and one by you for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Part two, baby. But we have to sell out of at first, so everybody got to buy the book now so that
Yeah,
Charlie is in
part
a
two
position to
can,
get in.
yeah,
Yes.
get in, like, I'll sell out so we can start working on the second one. Thank you so much, Jennifer. This was so much fun. I have nothing left to say except big, big thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this was great.